So what an unbelievable day of college football we got yesterday, and it's really been an unbelievable season. But yesterday gave us so many games we could talk about. Where do y'all want to go? We could go to the Big Ten and talk about Ohio State and Michigan playing in absolute thrillers, but talk about how those two are now on a collision course in a must-see game next weekend that's going to carry massive implications. We could go to the ACC, we could go to the SEC, we could go to the Big 12 or the Pac 12 because in every single conference, there was an amazing game yesterday. Today, we need to break down some of my favorite games that I got to see yesterday, some of the games I was most looking forward to. We need to break them down, talk about what I saw, give an instant reaction, and just have a good time talking about what an incredible day of college football it was. Guys, if you enjoy this, be sure to subscribe, hit that like, and comment down below. All of those are massive to content creators such as myself. But having said all that, let's jump right into this. We're going to start in the Big 12 with Oklahoma taking on the Oklahoma Sooners in Bedlam. And this was a game I talked about during the week that I was really excited for. The reason is quite simple. First and foremost, I consider it to be a rivalry game. I know Oklahoma absolutely owns this series, but in my opinion, because there are deeper implications, bragging rights in your state, that means there's something more to this game, and I consider it a rivalry game. Is it a close rivalry series? Absolutely not, and it got further from being close last night. Let's dive into this game, because for Oklahoma, you need to recapture any sort of positive momentum you can to end the season, and especially when you're playing host to all the incredibly talented recruits you were playing host to yesterday, you want any sort of positivity, and that's exactly what you got in the first quarter of this game. Genuinely speaking, I don't know if Jeff Lebby, Brent Venables, and the entirety of that Oklahoma staff could have scripted a better first quarter. Spencer Sanders was turning the ball over. Oklahoma was capitalizing on the turnovers. They were scoring. They were stopping Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State did not have an answer. You turn around, and next thing you know, it's 28-0, and we're going into the second quarter. That lead proved to be too much for Oklahoma State to overcome. However, what was interesting is Oklahoma's offense didn't have the output that we saw from the first quarter for the rest of the game. Now, that being said, like I said, they obviously didn't need the output because Oklahoma State couldn't come back from the hole that they had dug themselves in. And this is something interesting because this gave us a glimpse into what the Brent Venables defense could be. And this Brent Venables defense, whenever he gets into his schemes, I mean, it is a tough defense to play against. We saw as much whenever he was at Clemson. I enjoy going back and watching Clemson games a lot because it really shows some of the intricacies of this Brent Venables scheme, and it is a really fun scheme to watch. But unfortunately, if you're in Oklahoma State, if you're a team playing Brent Venables and you get behind, all of a sudden that scheme becomes real difficult to try and go up against because it's built to put you in bad situations. It's built to put you in situations where the defense is almost dictating what you're able to do. And whenever you're down, you're almost giving away what you're going to be trying to do. Oklahoma knew Oklahoma State was going to be trying to pass the ball, get the ball to their wide receivers, get quick, successful plays to try and stack something. And Oklahoma was able to take that away. Spencer Sanders threw the ball 67 times, completed 36 of them, threw for just shy of 400 yards, but had 4 interceptions to 1 touchdown. This is going to be something really interesting to see how this Oklahoma defense continues to evolve in the offseason, how this Brent Venables scheme continues to be implemented into this Oklahoma defense. But this is why I think people need to be excited, because we saw glimpses yesterday of why this scheme was so successful at Clemson and why I've continued to say on this channel it will be successful at Oklahoma. You just got to give him time. Let him implement his culture. Let him get in his guys. He needs the time and he needs the patience. But what a performance by the Oklahoma Sooners, especially with all of the talented recruits there. And guys, don't blink now, but Oklahoma's recruiting class is absolutely one to watch. They're currently a top 10 class, even though they haven't had the season they'd like. And with the amount of really talented prospects they had there, with the amount of recruits they had there that are currently committed to that class, and with the environment they were able to put on, wouldn't surprise me at all to see them really end out in a good position after this weekend with several of those top recruits. But we need to stay in the Big 12 for 2 more games. The first one we don't need to talk about for very long, and that's Texas versus Kansas. And what a performance by Bijan Robinson. I said this last football season. I almost went on a little tirade against Pro Football Focus College, who does great work, but they left Bijan Robinson off their top 50 players in college football going into the season last season, to which I could not believe. Bijan is as talented as a running back as we've seen in recent memory in college football. He has the ability to hurt a defense in so many different ways. Whether he's being a receiving threat, which we've seen him make catches this season, I haven't seen wide receivers make. He has upped his draft stock so much in that regard, or as a traditional running back, in which good luck bringing him down. It's like trying to tackle smoke in a phone booth. He can have no space at all, and he's got so much wiggle, he's going to break free, and he had a sensational game against Kansas, going well over 200 yards on a day where if you just looked at the stat sheet, Quinn Ewers didn't light it up for a third consecutive time. But it didn't matter whenever Bijan was as automatic as he was, and the Texas run game. Jonathan Brooks got some shine. That's a guy I'm really excited about his future. If you tuned into the live stream on Monday, I actually talked about Jonathan Brooks a little bit, and I talked about, hey, once Bijan leaves, there's still a lot of talent in that Texas running back room, and don't look now, but they're bringing in even more talented dudes in recruiting, but guys such as Jonathan Brooks, very talented. I got to watch him play in high school when he played in the state championship and was unbelievably impressed. What a football player. So happy he got to put it on display yesterday. But that was a huge win for the Texas Longhorns, especially after having lost to Kansas last season, especially after having taken the loss they did the week prior. Texas needed some momentum, and it needed to come with somebody having a big performance. And when we talked about this game during the week, I said Texas's offense goes where Bijan takes them. And Bijan took them all the way yesterday. Awesome to see from the Texas Longhorns. But guys, if we're talking Big 12 football, could we honestly talk Big 12 football without talking about the TCU Baylor game? TCU is the Cinderella team of this season, and I am absolutely here for it. Guys, can you have a bad time watching TCU football? That's a genuine question. That is a genuine question for all of you sitting out there. Whether you believe in TCU or not, because I've seen plenty of people question TCU because they've had close games. Whether you believe in them or not is beside the point. Have you had a bad time watching them? I can't imagine the answer is yes, I've had a bad time watching TCU, unless you're a fan of one of the teams they've beaten, in which case that's probably a fair answer. But if you're an unbiased observer, I don't see how you haven't watched TCU and had a blast doing so. That team, that quarterback has so much heart, so much want to, and it was just all shown on Saturday against Baylor. This was a game we didn't talk about this week, and that was absolutely a mistake. This was a game I didn't hit in the live stream, and that was absolutely a mistake because this was a complete thriller. I've said this before on the channel multiple times. I've said this in other channels I've featured in. I have as much respect for Dave Aranda's scheme as any coach in college football. I think it is wild that we can go back, look at those LSU teams, and watch and see Dave Aranda and Corey Raymond coaching in the same defensive backfield. That's just insane to me, something that really doesn't get enough play. I digress, though. Going up against Dave Aranda is never an easy task, and Baylor's been a bit all over the place this season, but that doesn't diminish how difficult of a task it is you have at hand whenever you go up against them. Ultimately, Max Duggan and TCU were up for the task. And what a performance by Max Duggan. I mean, gutsy. That's absolutely the word you'd use, gutsy. It was awesome to watch. I mean, this TCU team absolutely deserves to go to the college football playoffs. You can go down in the comments right now and say, but Ty, they've had this game that was close, and they've had this game that was close, and they've had this game that was close. And after those games, the teams they've played have gone on to lose in spectacular fashion. And you may be right, but at the end of the day, college football is about going out there and playing who's on your schedule. And at the point where TCU's done that, we then have to ask the question, what have the results been? Do you have a loss? They don't. They're undefeated. They've earned their way. So long as they keep winning, this is a team that's earned their way to the college football playoff, and I've had a real good time watching them do it. Sonny Dykes, man, I think there needs to be a lot more conversation about Sonny Dykes, about what a job he's done in year one with TCU. And one thing before we move on, one of the things that really stands out to me about TCU, getting rid of Gary Patterson was interesting, and I understand TCU wasn't getting the results that they had come to expect, but one thing we have to understand is Gary Patterson took that program to new heights. Gary Patterson vaulted them. Getting rid of the guy that took you to new heights is bold, and expecting that you're going to find someone that's going to get you better results is even bolder. What's wild is it worked. They got rid of Gary Patterson, who took TCU to national prominence, not by himself, by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm sure Gary Patterson, if he was sitting next to me, would be the first to interject and say, but you got to talk about the players. I have no doubt that that'd be the first thing he'd say. And make no mistake, it is not my contention that it was just Gary Patterson. My contention is Gary Patterson was the head coach when it all went down. Gary Patterson is a defensive guru and defensive alchemist. And if you talk to the guys that played for him, they'll tell you as much. TCU got rid of that guy, fired him, got someone else, and this is the year they're having. That is unbelievable. That is a great job by Sonny Dykes, great job by TCU. I can't wait to see what the rest of the season holds for the Horned Frogs. Now, we need to go to the Pac-12 because my game of the week was UCLA versus USC, and it absolutely did not disappoint. That was fireworks through and through. What a fourth quarter. I mean, this game came down to the wire. Caleb Williams had the best game of his career, in my opinion. And I'm someone who I've always been forthright in saying Caleb Williams' ceiling is as high, if not higher, than any quarterbacks in the nation when we're talking about what the natural ability he has is. But he's someone who still needs development. And guys, he put it on display yesterday. There is no mistake about that. He put it on display yesterday. The throws he made, I mean, I saw him make more consistent throws that were high-level throws throughout that game than I've seen him make. And make no mistake, we've seen Caleb Williams make NFL throws. That's not a question. My point here is I watched him do it for 4 quarters at will against UCLA. At absolute will. He put together a masterful performance, and coming off of that performance, the question must be asked, what are Heisman voters thinking? I know there's this whole conversation about how it's very difficult for Pac-12 players to win the Heisman because of the time difference and because of the percentage of voters. We can have that conversation, but with the conversation that must come with it is, yeah, but you have got to watch. You cannot ignore what Caleb Williams is doing. USC is dangerous. USC is very dangerous. We talked about this when we were breaking down this game. I picked USC to win versus UCLA by 7 points. And whenever we were talking about this, I thought that UCLA's rushing attack and the way they were able to get successful rushing plays was going to give USC fits, in my opinion. Because I think UCLA is designed to give most defenses fits, and that USC defense, let's be very forthright, it's very much well a work in progress. However, that USC offense is as dangerous as any offense in the nation, even with Travis Dye going down. Because Austin Jones was a running back we talked about this week. Raleek Brown was a running back we talked about this week. USC's offense has got so many different weapons. And if you're going to play them, you have got to have a real sound defense that can try and do something to confuse and get Caleb Williams off his game. The last thing you want is for him to be escaping the pocket, and now your linebackers, your DBs, are having to make choices. Because we talked about this week. Caleb is as dangerous as they come whenever he escapes the backfield, starts rolling out the pocket, and your safeties, your corners, your linebackers now have to make a choice. Do I take 3 steps forward and he just pops it right over my head? Or do I stay in coverage and give him the first down with his legs? Because I'm not going to be able to catch him. I'm not athletic enough. He makes it real tough on defenses. That was a great game. Fireworks through and through. Jordan Addison was electric as he continues to be the former Biletnikoff winner, just showing how talented he was. But USC's defense, man, Shane Lee and this defense, they came up big when the moments were the brightest. And Corey Foreman getting the interception to seal it, what a big moment for him and his career. I mean, it was everything that you could ask for. If you were wanting for that game to carry all the fireworks, if you were wanting for California college football to return to some form of prominence, it was everything you could have wanted and more. And finally, y'all, we need to go to the SEC. We need to talk about Tennessee, the team who many did believe was the Cinderella team this year, who got absolutely smacked around by South Carolina. And this was one of the issues I kept talking about with Tennessee. One thing we've seen in the college football playoffs is you can be a tremendous offense, and you don't have to be the best defense in the nation to win playoff games and inevitably to win a national championship. But you cannot be one of the worst defenses in the nation. And while Tennessee isn't the worst defense in the nation, their ability to stop the pass has been almost non-existent all year. And at some point, it was going to come and bite you. And whenever you play a quarterback like Spencer Rattler, who has the ability, who has the arm talent to hit every blade of grass on the field, well, now you're rolling the dice. Now, that being said, Spencer Rattler has been an inconsistent quarterback throughout the past 2 years of college football. But he still has a tremendous amount of ability. And unfortunately, if you're TCU... Now, that being said, Spencer Rattler has been inconsistent over the past 2 years of college football. And if you were Tennessee, you were hedging your bets that your veteran quarterback, that your awesome offense was going to be able to take over this game. However, that was not what was shown. Beamer coached a heck of a game. And before we can go any further, we have got to send prayers out to Hendon Hooker. Hopefully his injury isn't as severe. I'm not sure the status of the injury. I just know he took a knee injury. I don't want to speculate because I don't know that I have seen any official reports. You got to remember, y'all, I get up early and do this one, stay up late watching all of the college football games. And so I haven't seen an official report. I'm not going to say what the injury was. If you guys know, drop it down in the comments. But that's just terrible. The career he's had, the season he's had, everything was poised, the stars aligned for him to be a really, really good draft pick this year. And hopefully that's still the case. I truly hope that NFL scouts, NFL teams, they see the value that he provides. They see the leadership. They see the tenacity. They see the buy-in from the guys around him, because that's exactly what we saw from Tennessee this year. The buy-in from the guys around him was palpable. And we never wish injuries on anybody. Absolutely not. I love football. I understand that injuries are a part of the game of football, but it never makes it any easier. And even if it's not on your team, you never want to see a guy like Hendon Hooker, who's worked so tremendously hard his entire career to get to this moment. And that's when the injury happens. Hopefully everything is going to be just fine. Hopefully the recovery is going to be easy. It's going to be quick. And I truly believe he's done enough to keep his draft status, because he has had an unbelievable year. It was just unfortunate that was the last game, with South Carolina absolutely taking it to the Vols defense. But that was the greater point I was making whenever we would talk during the live streams and people would ask me, do I think Tennessee is a playoff team? Yes, they could easily get into the playoffs. I didn't think they controlled their own destiny. That was one thing I had stated multiple times. I said they don't control their own destiny, but at the end of the day, Tennessee was a very solid team. The thing that worried me is we have seen time and time again, you have to be a balanced team at some level to have success in the college football playoffs. You don't have to have the best defense, but you cannot have a defense or part of your defense that's an absolute liability, because you're going to get it taken to you. And that's exactly what we saw. Guys, what a day of football. What a day of college football. Drop comments down below. Let's talk about some games. Give me some ideas for some content for tomorrow and for tomorrow's live stream, which will be going live at 5:30 Central Standard Time. Can't wait to see you all there. Hope you all enjoy your Sunday. Let me know what you thought about all the games yesterday. Drop them down in the comments. That's it. See you.